How many people lost their Ricochet modems last year? Ricochet.
I have. I still
How many
have
people have lost your modem? How many people lost their Ricochet service last year? Okay, about 5 or 6 people, including me. How many people lost their at-home connection to AT&T? A couple people. How many people lost their co-bed connection? Oh, okay. The response wasn't what I was expecting, but basically, the valley's gone through a lot of changes in the last couple of years. It kind of sucks now, actually. When I lost my Ricochet modem, I was like, oh man, this is horrible. And then when I lost my at-home connection, it got replaced by AT&T. I had a static IP address that I was running my VCF Web server off of, so I had to move that around a few times, and that was a bit nightmare. But things are getting a little better, hopefully.
Is Ricochet coming back?
It's in San Diego. Not San Diego, Colorado, Denver.
There's a company called Area Networks.
They're bringing it back slowly.
But they've only brought it back in San Diego and Dallas for some reason.
No,
It
no.
seems like if all the hardware is in place, they might as well
You
turn it
would
on.
think, wouldn't you? Makes no sense. Let me tell you a little story about VCF 1.0 and how it started, and why it started, and what it took to get it all going. In about February of 1997, a guy by the name of Bill Whitson from the University of Washington created the Classic Computers mailing list. And he posted around news groups, probably, I think, all that folklore.computers was the primary one, but word filtered out that this guy had started a mailing list for people who were interested in collecting old computers. Now, up until then, I was just some guy with about 20 or 30 old computers in my garage that, for no logical reason, I held on to. And probably had been holding on to them for about, until that point, probably about 10 years. I had a few S100 machines, typical stuff like the Commodores, Ataris, TRS-80s, things like that. One day I went to a flea market and found a guy, a stall, with like 28 old computers. And I got really excited and bought them all. Brought them home, cleaned them up, played around with them. I'm sure everybody here has similar stories. Well, up until the time that Bill started this mailing list, I didn't think there was anybody else out there as retarded as I was. Because, I mean, who collects old computers? So, all of a sudden, there was a community of people like me who shared this passion for old computers that we couldn't just explain. Now we finally have forums to try to explain and figure out why we like old computers so much. And a lot of discussion went on, as well as people helping each other get old computers running, troubleshooting techniques, things like that. So this was great. And then all of a sudden you realize that there's probably hundreds of people all around the world who were interested in collecting old computers. It was really exciting. So that got me on this just crazy binge of collecting old computers. I used to go out to every chance I got, flea markets, thrift stores, some of the hamfests, online, just searching everywhere for old computers. My collection just mushroomed. And it was a lot of fun. It was actually funner. Those of you who were collecting 5, 10 years ago, you used to be able to go to like Las Positas, Las Positas, Electronic Swap, and also Foothill, and pick up some nice old machine for $5, $10. Unfortunately, because of some unmentionable or some auction sites on the web that I won't mention, because I do not like them. Prices started to go up, and that's a little bit unfortunate. There's two sides to it. On the one hand, it's kind of some of the old computers that where the prices have gone way up. It's put them out of reach of people who are hobbyists and just wanted to enjoy them for what they were. But on the other hand, some people make the argument that now, at least because there's money in them, or money can be had for them, people might be more inclined to hold on to them rather than just toss them. And therefore preserve computers that may have been, some rare computer that may have been thrown out. Maybe now there's a motivation to hold on to them. There's a better chance that they can preserve it. But anyway, going back to what I was talking about, at some point, once the classic computer mailing list started to get going, I realized that there's enough of a community that would be really nice to have some sort of event like we're attending right now. Because I've always been somebody who's been very ambitious, and I wanted to originally do a computer museum, but as soon as you found out that there's 50 or 100 other collectors around you, a bunch of them already have computer museums, well, that's what we've done. That's a state of yeah, that. So I started thinking it'd be great if we had a conference where everybody can get together, collectives such as yourself, people interested in computer history. And that's when the, what was at first dubbed the Classic Computer Conference, which eventually turned into the Vintage Computer Festival, because that sounded cool. That's where the origins of that came from. I started to, I pitched that to the list, the Classic Computers mailing list, in about May or June of '97. Got favorable response, and so I decided I'm going to go ahead with it. And so the first event was at the Alameda County Fairgrounds. I wanted to keep it close to where I lived, which was at the time, well, I was living in Livermore, and I still live in Livermore, and I wanted to keep it close to home so it would be easy to organize and easier to just take care of everything. And so I was at the Alameda County Fairgrounds. And it was in two big buildings. One was the exhibit marketplace, and all the computers in the exhibit that year, well, about 90% of them, a goodly number of them were my computers out of my collection. And just was not anything like we have here. This is way more cooler than what we originally had. It was just a bunch of computers just statically sitting out there so people can see what all the computers look like. And then I had a bunch of friends who helped out and brought their computers. And we had, for what it was a very nice exhibit. Some of them were working. And we had a lot of pretty reasonable sized marketplace. And then I had a huge separate building set aside for talks, for the speakers. And I was pretty conservative in my estimate because I figured, okay, this is the first time, I don't know how many people I get, maybe a couple hundred people, something like that. Well, I have a friend who will remain nameless, who said, oh, no. You have to get, you should expect 1,000 speakers. You need to get that room filled with chairs. So I'm like, oh, okay. So he had more experience. He had organized events before. He was involved with the Computer History Association of California, which is not really around anymore. But I trusted his judgment. And so I filled up the room with 600 chairs. And the most people we had at the event at any one time in that room was probably 10. Needless to say, I lost quite a bit of money. But it was a lot of fun. There was a huge struggle actually to get that event, the first event. Because at the time I was working, typical startup. I was working at a telecommunications startup. And around that time, there was a huge project that my company got in North Carolina. And I was the guy on that project. It was a $20 million contract. And I was basically the head engineer of the project. And I needed to get a telecommunications system designed for it. And so in the first VCF was October 25th and 26th. And so about the 1st or 2nd of October, I headed off to North Carolina for what was supposed to be a 3-week project. Go in there, install the machine, get the software finished up, load it on there, debug, test, and everything. How naive I was. That project ended up taking a year and 4 months. There's a lot of reasons why I don't want to go into it. But the point is that the project was only supposed to take 3 weeks. I was expecting to get back around the 21st of October, spend the last couple of days finishing up preparations for VCF, and everything was going to be great. Well, come around, 21st, I had my ticket to come home. And our company had actually been bought in August of '97 when the new owner basically took over. And it was basically a company in the South, Sellam, Alabama. So you had a gentleman by the name of Mr. Talbot, typical antebellum Southern gentleman, but very stern. And he basically told me, you can't leave, the project's not done. And I had to explain to him, no, I've been planning this for 4 or 5 months, I have to, but there's going to be this many people there, there's many people coming, I put this much money into it. No, you can't leave. You have to finish this project. And of course, this project is already, the cracks are already being formed. So fortunately, I was able to work with my boss, who was the owner of the company my company was bought out. Fortunately, he smoothed things out for me. I was able to come back around the 21st, 22nd, finish the final preparations for VCF. And it was actually, in hindsight, it was very successful. We had about 150 people. I was expecting a lot more. But then again, now that I'm much more experienced, I know that 150 people for a first time event is actually pretty good. The crazy thing though is that on Sunday night, after teardown, I think we finished at 1 a.m. big, heavy dividers, and all these tables, and it was just a big nightmare. But at 6 a.m. the next morning, Monday morning, I'd be back on plant. And spent the next year and 4 months struggling with this deep project that we had. So anyway, it was like a death wish. That's how one of my coworkers described it. So that's sort of the story, a quick little brief story about VCF. And of course, last year, this is VCF 5 officially. Last year was supposed to be VCF 5. I'm dubbing that 5.0.1. This is 5.0.2. So as we all know, unfortunately, on September 11th, we had a tragic national event happen, and that was on Tuesday, of course. And it wasn't really kind of clear what was going to happen. And so it was about Thursday that I finally decided that I should pull the VCF because I had lost 2 of my speakers who weren't going to be, actually there were 3 speakers who weren't going to be able to fly in, and a couple of exhibitors, and it was obviously just too crazy. And also, to be quite honest, I was not even ready for the VCF. That was part of the reason why I decided to pull it, because things had just been really crazy that year, and just hadn't gotten around to making all preparations. I thought I would have had to, spend the last. I was planning to spend from Tuesday through Friday getting everything done. I'm one of those last minute kind of guys who manages it's 4 weeks or 4 months or whatever, and the whole project in the last week. So that was me. And then after spending Tuesday and Wednesday glued in front of TV like most people did, I decided that it's probably best to cancel it. So that's what happened. I celebrated VCF 5 this year. But this is actually the 6th year of the Village Computer Festival. So I'm actually pretty proud of that. It's gone on this long. Some years I'm like, oh no, I really don't want to do this. Because there's a lot of work that goes into preparing VCF. But once things get rolling, and once the event comes off, as hectic as it is, as crazy as it is, it's always very rewarding. I enjoy doing it. And I appreciate you folks coming and supporting me. That's what keeps me doing it year after year. This year, I expect the attendance to be down because of the general malaise in the economy. Have less exhibitors, less vendors, but it's something to be expected. That's what's going to happen. That's also why, if you recall, the event was originally scheduled for the middle of September, and there was just hardly any speakers, hardly any vendors, and hardly any exhibitors to speak of. So I decided to move that, and I have to give them time to try to get more people in that work. So I expect when the economy starts improving, the weeks will have more money, they'll feel more confident, and we'll have more time to come out and enjoy events like this. And we'll start to continue to grow the event year after year. The peak attendance in 2000 was 450 attendees. And in the meantime, last year we did the first VCF East, and that attracted about 90 people. We had one person here actually who was at that event as well. And we have run VCF Europa for 3 years now in Munich, and that's growing every year as well. And in the pipe is it's just talk right now about VCF Japan, and possibly VCF Australia, and VCF Afghanistan. No. There is VCF Japan and VCF Australia are 2 serious considerations. So plan your vacations accordingly.
There's a game expo in the UK that I hope I'm going to go to. If I go back there this year, called the Game On, where they have everything from the PDP-1 on in the video games area.
That sounds pretty neat. We were considering doing a VCF UK earlier this year. There's I forget the Bletchley Computer Society or something like that over there.
It's the British Computer Society. We've got a museum that's Park.
Yes,
That's
that's
illegal.
British Computer Society has the museum of Bletchley Park, and they actually were organizing a festival, a computer festival, like this, and they also considered, how should we do this? Maybe we should do it together. I considered it. We were talking about it, but our schedules didn't meet, and so we decided to scrap that idea for now. Maybe we'll do it again. But there is one collector who's serious about doing a VCF UK. And so, actually, I just want to let you guys know, if there's anybody, most of you folks are here in California, if you know anybody who wants to bring a VCF to their area, Midwest maybe, or Los Angeles, have them contact me. We'll try to work something out and do a VCF. I'd like to actually have VCFs throughout the year in all different parts of the country, if possible. It's a lot of time and effort to go into it, but I'd like to start expanding it out and bring it to more people. That's why I decided to do VCFs. A lot of people on the East Coast are clamoring for one. A lot of people in the Midwest are clamoring for one, but I don't think the Midwest is a critical mass yet. But eventually we might do that. We talked a little bit about the VCF archives. They've grown exponentially since the Alameda County Computer Resource Center, which if you don't know what the Alameda County Computer Resource Center is, ACCRC. They're a nonprofit computer recycler in Oakland. They're probably the largest operation west of the Mississippi. I don't know how many tons of hardware comes through and goes out every week, but it's a lot, several truckloads. Everything that goes through there gets recycled, whether it be TVs, electronics, as well as computers. If it's not refurbished and by volunteers who are also in the process of learning computer skills, some of them are homeless people, as from the shelter next door to the operation. The computers aren't refurbished by them and sent out to schools, charities, non-governmental organizations, anybody who can show a good cause for needing a computer. It's recycled, and it's not sent off to China anymore. They were sending it off to China until they realized, until we found out that they were dumping them in the rivers. You know, I read that article earlier this year about how a lot of electronic scrap is just going to China and being dumped in the rivers, and little kids were taking out electronic parts with pliers and hurting themselves, including the rivers. So we don't do that anymore. Or the ACCRC doesn't do that anymore. They make sure that it all goes to processors who will actually recycle it. So everything is recycled. Glass from CRTs is sent off to Operation in Utah that separates out the glass from lead and recycles all the components. Everything is recycled. And pretty soon we're going to be opening up a operation in Barstow, California that has a stripper machine. You put a computer in one end and out the other end comes out all these trace metals and plastic. We're going to sort it out. It's quite impressive. But anyway, back to my connection with him. James Burgett, who's the executive director, is going to be here tomorrow to talk about that. He's an extremely fascinating guy. I strongly recommend you go to his conference and talk about how to study this organization. A couple years ago, I was in trouble. My warehouse was, I was losing the lease on my warehouse. It was about 1,200 square feet. I had it filled to the gills plus overflow outside around it. It was an enclosed area inside a greater building, and I needed to get that stuff somewhere. I had met James a couple years prior at his former facility, and we had discussed doing some sort of collaboration. By that time, he already put together a computer museum of his own that he pulled all computers that came through and put them aside because he, like most of us, could appreciate these old computers, and so he had quite a nice collection. He still has it, still there. And so we discussed collaborating in some manner. And so didn't really go anywhere. A couple years later, it was basically like my last resort. I had no other place to go. I already moved some stuff to Livermore and some storage there, but it was costing me way too much, and I needed to find a better solution. I went to James, told him my situation. First thing I had out of his mouth was, how much space you need and when do you need it? And that's just the kind of guy James is. He's extremely generous. And so he basically gave me all the space I needed to do my entire collection over there. Not only that, but he put me in charge of culling everything that comes through the warehouse that is worth investing in. So he's actually my biggest donor now, and as a result, my collection is growing. Actually, it's getting out of hand. So I need to, I basically have a plan for getting everything cataloged and organized. You may have seen me discussing plans for the computer museum there. That was supposed to be summer, and then I said September, but I was trying to have an open house before VCF, and now I'm talking about by the end of December, hopefully by Christmas. However, recently, James has decided that they're going to move the whole operation to Berkeley, because the city of Berkeley gave me an offer that they couldn't refuse. So we're going to now have to move the whole collection again, for probably the 5th time in as many years. Don't look forward to it, but I'm told the new building is very nice. The net result is that this is going to push out the probably another half year or so, 8 months. But when I do finally have it up, the idea has always been, when I started, going back to when I started to go crazy, when I was collecting my dad, I realized pretty soon that I was accumulating so much stuff. I had so much stuff. There would never possibly be time for any one person to enjoy it all themselves. That's when I decided that this should always be made available to anybody and whoever wants to use it for whatever reason, as far as hobbyists, researchers, things like that. And that's always been my policy. Anybody who ever comes to me and says, oh, I need this because I'm trying to get my computer working, or I'm writing a book, anything like that, I've always helped. I've always been more than happy to loan that person my computer or software or book or magazine, whatever it is, for as long as they need. And that's always been the idea behind the VCF archives, and it always will be. It's intended to be a public access archive. And so what I'm trying to do at the ACCRC is set everything up, organize everything, catalog everything so that you can ideally look on the web, find what you need, email me and say, can I borrow this? And I would probably say sure. And then you come out and you get it, or I'm going to have all of my books, manuals, magazines, software set up on which numbers in the thousands for each of them. I have probably 20,000 magazines now. Pretty almost every issue of every computer journal published. Just about. Thousands of books. I don't know how many thousands of books. 5 or 6,000. All computer related, but from every different category you can subject you can think of. So not just technical, but like social. It's really software for all kinds of different computers, all different platforms, all kinds of media. So anyway, the idea is that all this, if there's ever a hobbyist somewhere who needs a stringy floppy for some reason, I have a stringy floppy. Or if a film company needs an Apple II for a biography of Michael Dell, which happened a few months ago, I've got that, but I'll actually rent it for them. They pay for it. The commercial folks pay for the upkeep of the VCF archives so that folks like you can borrow it. But anyway, so that's the idea. And hopefully by sometime next year, we'll have that up and going. And after that, I'm going to return back to my plans I've had for about 3 years ago, which is to start an after-school workshop for kids to teach them computer skills, but from the classics that we develop on, because those computers are, as we all know, the best. They're the best ones to learn from. It's much better to learn on a classic computer than on a PC these days. The idea is to teach them real programming skills, real electronics hardware skills, and teach them on the classics, so that when by the time they get to college, they already have all the basic stuff down, and don't need to waste their time with all that stuff that you should be learning when you're a teenager, and get to the really nitty-gritty stuff so that these people can become engineers by the time they're very successful engineers. I don't want to disparage anybody, but I think if you have a solid base, if you have a solid base of personal exploration when you're a kid, by the time you get to college, you can focus on the important stuff. I think that's important. So anyway, those plans are up in the air now as far as the VCF archives. We'll have to see what happens with the move, and I mean it's all up in the air. So I'll send out announcements. I have the VCF Gazette. If you don't get it, you can sign up on the VCF VCF website. And every 3 months or so, I send out VCF Gazette, which just kind of has an update of what's going on in the VCF. So I'm going to basically end my talk now so you guys can go off and get some lunch. I'm going to first say thanks very much to the ACCRC. If you have anything with me, all computers are donated, whatever, I don't know all the way up to now that, one thing I should mention is now all the computer recyclers are charging for any electronics and computers, monitors, whatever. ACCRC actually charges the cheapest. They have the cheapest prices that you have to pay for that. I know there's the CRC or Santa Clara, but it's worth a trip over there. If you have an old computer, you need to go dispose of it. Instead of going to CRC, why don't you try going to Oakland for a day, or the ACCRC, it's a really neat place. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's an internet radio station there. They're going to open up an internet TV station pretty soon. The VCF archives will be happy to meet you there and do a tour. And then you can also do a tour of the operation and see people in there. It's a really neat place, so I recommend it. I'd like to give great thanks to the Computer History Museum for sponsoring VCF 5. And if it wasn't for them, there's a very good chance that VCF would not be as nice as it is right now. It was really helpful that they, using their connections, I was able to do the event here. It's a great facility, and I really appreciate that. And I also like to thank Extreme Games, which is basically a video game development company. My friend Andre LeBlanc runs that at his house, and he lets me run my server off of his DSL connection, so I got it. And I just wanted to mention that up in the fireside, what's called the showroom, you go back out and you go towards the exhibit marketplace. By the way, it opens at 2 o'clock, and before you register, you take a right instead, around the corner, and you go all the way back to the building. There's the exhibit marketplace, opens at 2 o'clock. On the way, you'll see a bunch of stuff. There's lots of literature, propaganda. In the back of the showroom, I think there's a bunch of tables against the mirror walls. You get all kinds of brochures and stuff like that, computer museum stuff. If you're able to pick up one of my brochures if you want. Opposite that, right over there, is a TV that's playing this video by Oddball Film and Video, their stock footage company from San Francisco. And they have an archive of, they say here, 35,000 films. And what they did for me for VCF2 is they put together this neat review of these old computer films from the 50s, the 60s, and 70s. It ran for about an hour and a half. And they did so again for me this year. And it's just basically playing on a continuous loop. If you see it stopped, let somebody know, or just hit rewind, and it's a 2-hour tape. But it's neat. You might want to take a moment to look at that. Just briefly run through this. They have a film called The Teaching Machine. Sidney Presley demonstrates a living mechanical device that teaches a task. The film called that's from 1952 to 1982. You have an excerpt called Discovery of Computers. From 1968, Media and the Masses, School of Tomorrow. From 1973 to Supply Data. And I guess that has some stuff about Market Field actually in there. From 1983, Office Systems Report from IBM. From 1950, Conversation Crossroads from Bell Telephone. From 1964, Challenge for Tomorrow from RCA. So some RCA propaganda. And from 1968, Compute Per Baby, computer art film. And from 1970, the Bowman Pocket Calculator. It's a computer in the pocket advertised. So it's some neat stuff. You might want to check that out. Some oddball film and video. So at this point, if anybody has any questions about anything, history of VCF, questions around anything you want to ask? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a computer collection going, about 35, still growing. It's been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. But one of the main things about my collection is that I'm trying to get the software to get computers going, because I don't have a computer because I don't have software. Guidance. Do you have a repository of software somewhere online? Or would it be a good idea to start a repository of old software?
To answer that question, yes. Do I have a repository? No. It's something that I'd like to do at some point. All of my software is just, in the boxes and inside other boxes, stacked up upon each other, not so organized fashion. There are repositories online you can find. The best one I've ever seen is the TRSA Rediscovered by Ira Goldlane. Yeah. It's amazing. He's got, I don't know how many thousands of IBM TRS-80 software images on there for emulation. It's awesome. And there's ones for Atari, there's Commodore. There used to be one for the Apple II called Isimoff. There's a FTP server. I don't know what's up there. It's one of the things I eventually will try to organize some volunteers to help me with that. Because I would like to eventually get images of every single piece of software I have and put it up on the server somewhere. There's copyright issues. It's not going to be freely available. I mean, at the outset, the idea is to first preserve the images. get that out of the way, and then maybe at some point try to get the copyright cases for all the old software that nobody really cares about anymore, which a lot of people have done. There's a site on the web called I think it's abandonware.org or something. I have it linked from the VCF. If you go to the main VCF page, go all the way down to the bottom, click on Archive News. There's a section, there's a news item for that. And, you can check into that. But so I guess what you're saying is you want some software for your machines?
Well, actually, I've been collecting the software, anything I can find online for my machine. The thing is, I'm trying to collect this, start to have this huge collection. But I was wondering if you had a repository, I can share it with you, or maybe volunteer.
Oh, well, yeah, I love that. Right now, I'd have to get some sort of organizational structure for us to do that.
And then the other question I was going to ask is, can you touch upon the copyright issues, how the copyright go on?
Yeah, well, that's part of the abandonware petition is to get companies to allow, their quote-unquote abandonware, what's been done with abandonware, to be freely available, to make it, public domain. And there's been quite a few game authors that have been located either on abandonware sites, I think there's some other sites that also do that, that are actively going around looking for authors of old software, contacting them saying, hey, we put your software in the public domain. One example that I remember, because I used to use this software, Penguinware, Mark Pilzowski, I think his name was pronounced. He wrote a lot of software for the Apple II, and he's basically made all his stuff public domain. And there's been a couple other notable software authors. So yeah, I mean, I would recommend that if you have a favorite platform, a favorite software, it's 20 years old for a little home computer or whatever, try to track something else, put a few hours per night on the internet for the authors. A lot of these guys have resumes online for the current occupation or the current businesses or whatever. They say, in 1983, I wrote such and such software, so Google search will turn them up, and maybe contact them and say, hey, how about put your software in public? And over time, with everybody working on one piece here and there, we'll have a considerable repository for that for resolution. Anybody else have a question?
I guess I know you already found those in. There was the people and video game at the same time. That was pretty cool. So I was wondering if I love that.
Yeah, we were actually trying to do that again this year. It just didn't work out. Again, because I didn't really have enough exhibitors or vendors to do the show on the 15th and 16th, which is when America was. And there were some problems to work out. It was too loud. We needed to kind of rethink how we did it. There was no separation between our event and their event, so there was a lot of noise. People complained about that. First day, the air conditioning hadn't been turned on until later on in the day, so it never cooled out. There's some issues. I'd like to do that again because it worked out really well. There's a lot of crossover between the two events, but we'll see. Anybody else have any questions, comments, suggestions, criticisms, rants?
The ACCRC, they let you go in and buy things from the showroom. I tried calling them, they said they want some resellers. Maybe I asked them one question.
Yeah, they were doing that for a while, and it just got to the point where it was too much of a hassle. They got way too busy. They're on very limited staff. The staff people that are there, they're practically volunteers. They don't make a whole lot of money, and it just got to be too much, especially when people were coming back complaining, oh, my mouse didn't work, or whatever, stupid little things like that.
So you rather donate, you can't really go there and buy.
Well, if you volunteer, you can actually, they'll give you privileges to go back to the warehouse and find what you need. But you have to discuss it with them. It depends on how long you volunteer. It's not easy. You can't just go in there and spend an hour and expect to walk off the computer. You actually have to put in some considerable time. But it's worth it because you're doing some good. And I believe your time is going to be ripped off on your taxes. That's a great issue. Let's discuss what you're doing. Thanks. Anything else? Any shout outs? Any vitriol? Any pleasant comments? Okay. Well, why don't you all just go and enjoy your 15, 20 minutes for lunch. There's a McDonald's on base. I wouldn't recommend this there. And the next speaker is Dmitry Stachyap. 1 p.m. Thanks all for coming.